Good morning, doctor. Welcome back.
Good morning, Venkatesh. How are you? All well?
All well, all well. So, welcome
Very good.
as usual, and we'll introduce the topic for a minute or two and then hand over to you. Yeah.
Right, right.
So, the topic for today is karma, or basically karma in the context of Karmayog. And
Right.
we have titled it Action Freed because it frees us to do our actions in a way that we don't need to keep worrying about how we do our actions. Uh, One of the important themes that we have been discussing in the last few sessions has been that action is at the heart of wellness. That no matter what, inaction is detrimental to our wellness. We've looked at it from multiple standpoints in the last few sessions. Sort of not getting obsessed with perfection. Last time we looked at how you overcome your inertia. And we've also looked at another aspect in a recent session, which was how to start being detached from our actions. Today, it gets combined in saying that the best way to look at action is to detach ourselves from the outcomes and just free ourselves to act. And that's what Karma Yoga is. So
Right.
over to you, doctor.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Venkatesh. Now, karma is something that is everywhere. You know,
Right,
at this very moment, it is with you, it is with me, it is with Shivani, it is with everybody, it is with your scooter, it is with your aeroplane. Karma is everywhere.
right,
You will say, what nonsense. But it is not a nonsense. The concept of karma is all pervasive, all embracing,
right,
omnipresent, omnipotent kind of a thing. Now
right.
let us see how this makes sense.
Yeah,
See, we whatever we do, we are doing something. Now,
right,
even when we are not doing anything, we are doing something. For
correct,
example, a newborn baby is born and is crying, and it is not really doing anything except crying.
right,
But indirectly, the newborn baby is doing karma by stimulating the mother's thoughts, the mother's affection,
right,
and the parents' responsibilities, and stuff like that. So karma is happening.
right,
At this very moment of birth, it is happening.
correct,
And there are many who would say karma is happening even when you are not doing anything.
correct.
Hmm? Akarma, we'll come to that. Akarma is also a karma. Absence of karma is also a karma. Absence of faith is also a religion, as they say.
Correct.
If you are a non-believer, if you are a non-believer, that is your religion. So you call it a different name and
Correct.
so forth.
Correct.
So whatever you do, wherever you go, whatever you do or get done is
Right.
karma.
Correct.
Let us take a closer look at that karma. Any comment, Anku?
No, perfect. Perfect. Absolutely. Makes sense.
Okay, next slide, please.
Yeah.
Now, this concept of karma, as a karma came up with Bhagavad Gita.
Right.
If everybody looks at what is the fountainhead of karma, people would say Bhagavad Gita,
Right.
because Bhagavad Gita has defined and clarified and augmented the very concept of Bhagavad Gita, karma.
Karma. Correct.
And it was there before. It's not that there was no karma before Bhagavad Gita. There was
Right.
karma,
Correct.
but it was not made aware. It was not brought into focus.
Correct.
And for that, we must thank Bhagavad Gita because it has crystallized a modus operandi for karma. And in this, any comment, Tunku?
No, I think that is a perfect articulation. It's sort of like many scientific principles lay out something that already exists. And so, in a
Right,
manner, Bhagavad Gita is laying out the principles of karma for all of us to understand.
right.
Something that already existed, but it is, like you said, created a focus and given us a way of understanding it. Yeah, please go ahead.
Right. Yeah. And here the nomenclature also plays a role.
Right,
As we move on from Krita Yuga, that is Dwapara Yuga, Dveta Yuga, and all that stuff, you
right,
know, where there is this continuing link or the thread of action.
right,
And it is action based and action oriented,
right,
and that is Bhagavad Gita's karma. Now,
correct,
you call it yoga or not is up to you. You
right,
are doing karma. You can keep doing karma
correct,
without bothering about yoga part.
right,
Yeah. And it is happening.
right,
So, it may sound a little funny, it may sound a little odd that there is karma everywhere and we still don't know what is karma.
correct,
The very fact that it is there and is being acted upon is enough.
right,
So you can use your own terminology, you can use your own syntax and semantics and everything, but
correct,
that is down to the core of whatever we are doing, our very existence. So
right,
Bhagavad Gita is the fountainhead of karma,
Right.
and brought it through the mouths of uh, Arjuna and then Krishna.
Krishna. Correct.
Again,
Krishna laid it out for us.
yeah. Any comment, Venku, on that?
No. Yes. I think,
Okay.
and this is the core of it, right? The
Yeah,
decide.
right. Now, when you come to Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter begins with how the battlefield is getting ready
Right.
and how the hundreds and thousands of troops on either side are lining up
Right.
to hit to hit and kill the Pandavas. That was the idea.
Right.
There is nothing more, nothing. You have to kill the enemy,
Right.
and killing the enemy is your karma.
Right.
So that when you are killing, you don't feel bad or anything because that karma had to happen through your hands,
Right.
and you have to kill them, and then they die. Now again, that is also a relative term that death is a sort of a punctuation mark in everything.
Correct.
So that is death and birth and karma and so forth. They are all interrelated phenomena, and
Right.
they are all factual. There
Correct.
is nothing hypothetical about this.
Correct.
Everything is fact, fact, and fact. And within that, how do you leverage your very existence, your very thing? This is what is Bhagavad Gita's calling. So in chapter 2, you have got Bhakti Yoga.
12.
What
Not
Bhakti Yoga?
12.
Bhakti
Chapter
Yoga
12. Yeah, is
is
Bhakti
devotion.
Yoga. Correct.
Yeah. Devotion.
Right.
Yeah. It begins with devotion. You may wonder why. If it
Right.
is all about Karma Yoga, why should it begin with the Bhakti Yoga?
Right.
Well, the way of explaining this, Bhakti is a devotion to a supreme force,
Right.
which is inter alia operating through your medium and the enemy's medium and so forth. And for that, you need the emotion of Bhakti. Bhakti
Correct.
is emotional.
Correct.
And even in Bhagavad Gita, in Bhaja Govindam, which I am studying now more carefully,
Right.
so Bhaja Govindam, the very first stanza, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja means you have to pray to Govinda.
Right.
And why should you pray? If you are only doing karma, what is the need for praying? You
Correct.
will ask. It's a
Correct.
legitimate question. It's a
Correct.
legitimate question. And unless you have bhakti, you can't do karma. Look at it. Look at the reciprocity of the very existence.
Right.
Unless you have bhakti, you can't do karma. Unless you do karma, you can't have bhakti. So again, a very intricate and very complicated interrelationship. And this is how it is. Any
Right.
comment, Venku?
No, in fact, this harks back to almost one of our very early sessions where we talked about the necessity of faith as
Yeah.
actually almost a practical enabler for work or action. That
Right,
every time you encounter obstacles or you encounter self-doubt as an obstacle, you need to
right,
have faith in something larger than that. And in
right,
a manner that simplifies what you just said, that why is
right,
bhakti necessary for karma? It is to be able to believe in a larger force that is operating through you and liberate you to act rather than take ownership of everything and get tangled up in your mind, or sort
right,
of get frozen when things aren't going the way you want. So from that perspective, Bhakti Yoga is a driver of what is, your faith, or rather is
right,
a driver of your action, which
right,
gets
right.
moved then from Bhakti Yoga to Karma Yoga, which is what is here on this.
Correct. Yeah. Ultimately, you have to distill everything down to funnel everything down to action, and therefore, Karma Yoga can be, although controversially, Karma Yoga can be held as superior to other yogas. But again, here there is no question of superiority or anything.
Right,
Everything is one and the same. When you say Aham Brahmasmi, you are at one moment you are doing karma, and the next moment you are doing bhakti, and the third moment you have obtained jnana, and so forth. So it is one and the same thing, a multidimensional kaleidoscopic kind of a picture,
right.
and but that's good. There is no nothing harm in sort of following this multipartite approach toward karma,
Correct.
but you have to realize that it's all one and the same.
Right.
As we say, Sarvadeva Namaskara Keshavam Pratigachati. Whatever namaskar you do, whatever prayers you offer,
Right.
will only go to that supreme being Keshava. Keshava is not a story. Keshava is a symbolic, mythological, consolidation of everything that is going around us. So Sarvadeva Namaskara Keshavam Pratigachati is another, like we say, Brahmarpana Vastu, we say, there is no
Right.
Brahma, but you are doing Arpana to Brahma everywhere, every time, and so forth.
Yes.
Next slide. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, doing all this, you become enlightened.
Right.
You know, what are you doing and what are you getting enlightened about? You know,
Right.
what is there to get enlightened? You know, you're doing your job, you know, it's going to be there. So you work your
Correct.
karma, your action,
Right.
and you know, like that you graduate. Then you gradually ask questions about
Right.
yourself, what you're doing, and so forth, and then you realize the futility of all these things, and that is your jnana.
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
it may sound a little odd, but whatever jnana you derive by repeated actions,
Right.
okay, and with maturing actions, every action has to mature. You cannot degenerate into a level below, and
Right.
your mental cerebration has to be more exalted, and
Right.
that is your jnana.
Correct.
Jnana we are not going to look at today because
Right.
jnana by itself is a, you know, there are controversies about jnana, and karma we just saw, and
Is the center of what we are speaking about is karma today. Correct.
correct. Yeah, next slide, please.
Yeah. So one thought here, and I just by way of clarification, since we aren't talking about jnana beyond, so I guess you have just discussed, that jnana is
Yeah,
about that more exalted way of understanding the context of your actions.
right,
It's also a useful thing at this point to remember that very often, for example, I guess in the Upanishads, there is a discussion around that knowledge and action sometimes seem to be opposite to each other. Because if
right,
you know
right.
more, then there is this question, why do? Because finally, there is not that much, no one action has any meaning. Is one at an earlier stage of knowledge, you can get confused with that. And I guess
True.
Jnana Yoga is about understanding that you have to act, and that all actions are being done through you. And I guess the yoga is in that sense about being able to step away from it or get detached. That's the jnana. The jnana is
Right,
that you
right,
have to act nonetheless, and that it's not
right,
that analysis paralysis. If you know more, you get paralyzed from action is not the point.
right.
Yeah,
So, in
moving to the
other
next
words,
one. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Yoga is the quintessence of all other yogas, they say.
Uh,
But could be a play of words. But Jnana Yoga is necessary because it is towards what we are entirely directing our energies and meditation and so forth.
correct,
So what does it all amount to in practice?
correct,
Hmm? So in practice, you have to have karma.
right,
Okay, I got karma, but I like what I'm doing, so I like my karma. Then
correct,
that very moment you say, I like my karma, your karma yoga is gone. You
correct,
know. So you have to do your karma, you have to not really like your karma, but do it.
right,
So it is called nishkama karma. Now, Nishkama karma may sound very elaborate and confusing and conflicting. How can it be if there is Nishkama, there will be no karma, and vice versa?
right,
I won't do any work. For which there is a next shloka in Bhagavad Gita,
right,
the famous Karmanyevadhikaraste,
correct,
which is telling you how to do karma.
correct,
Hmm?
correct,
Being attached to karma is not a karma, real karma.
correct,
Yeah. That. So my purpose is Nishkama. That is what the divine is saying. My purpose is the divine's purpose
correct,
or individual's Atman's purpose
correct,
is a selfless service.
correct.
You're not going to like what you are doing, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that you should not do it.
Correct.
You see the
And I think,
circular.
yeah, the very important point here is the you mentioned one aspect of it, which is you shouldn't be attached to the action itself. But one of the
Right.
ways that people get attached to the action is by getting attached to the outcome. And
Correct.
and that outcome is important and dear to you is the way that you sort of get tangled up in your action.
Right.
Either the obsession with the action itself, and quite often the source of that is the obsession with the outcome. Neither is
Right.
actually conducive to continuing to act, is I guess the concept behind Nishkama Karma.
Right. Very true. Very true. And out of these manifestations of karma or the perceptions of karma come all these your three guna, you know,
Yes.
three gunas of
Right.
your existence. And shadripu, you grow your enemies within,
Right.
you do your karma, you get some phala, and then
Right.
get attached to the phala,
Correct.
and that attachment leads to vice. And
Correct.
that vice manifests as Shadripu, six enemies within. We will take up a session on that
As a
later
session.
on.
Correct.
There are Shadripu,
Right.
six enemies. And
Right.
these enemies have to come from your neighbor or Pakistan or something.
They are
The enemies are
internal.
inside you.
Correct.
Hmm?
Correct.
And how do you identify them and how do you tackle them,
Correct.
etc.
Correct.
You will see that later on in some of these.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Next
The
slide.
linkage is basically that if you get attached, one way or the
Yeah,
other, it's the breeding ground for, greed or avarice or, envy
yeah,
or
all that
jealousy.
stuff.
Yeah. All the enemies inside, they have to come
Yeah,
from an overall attachment. And attachment in the context of everything that we are saying, attachment is actually negative, right? It's your enemy.
right. That's what Gautam Buddha said, no?
Yes.
The basis for all your atrocities are your own desires.
Correct.
Yeah. You are performing atrocities mentally and physically.
On
And
yourself and others. Correct.
yeah, so all this may sound a little like I'm saying it again, a circular logic, but
Right.
circular logic is okay. It's not that we are going to get a linear logic in our thinking and action. And if
Correct.
you only linear logic, then you end up with negatives,
Correct.
So if you do circular kind of a thing, then there are mechanisms of extrapolating and then to rationalize and then to concretize whatever you are doing. So circular logic is fine.
Right.
You should not negate it. And within that will come all your attachments and detachments and so on. So to overcome this, what do you do?
Right.
Hmm? Samatvam yoga uchyate. You perform yoga,
Right.
and that yoga should be characterized by samatvam. Samatvam means your
Equanimity.
right hand and left hand are in balance, your mind and body are in balance, your friends and enemies are in balance. Samatvam, everything is equanimous.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And again, part of circular logic, and everything is equanimous, and that equanimity will give you the essence of your yoga, and that yoga will make you
Equanimity.
emotionless. And it will, in fact, reduce the turmoil and turbulations of your own brain,
Correct.
and that is samatva. And yoga uchyate is come from there.
Correct.
Next slide. Winko, any comment?
No, perfect. Perfect. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have
Next slide.
no better statement of balance is the essence. Or
Absolutely,
that wellness
absolutely.
can only come from
Yeah,
balance.
balance.
Yes.
Samatvam yoga uchyate, balance. What else?
Correct.
It is balance spelled differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that again is distilled into this particular Bhagavad Gita shloka.
Right.
Yogasya kuru karmani. Now Krishna is telling Arjuna, karma kuru. You do your work, but
Right.
do it yogasya. Do it
Correct.
sitting in yoga. Hmm?
Correct.
Guru Karmani is inescapable because Karma Yoga is inescapable for you.
Correct.
But you should be yogastha when you're doing that. That is the very essence of Arjuna's archery
Right.
towards Arjuna and so forth. So he have Krishna has advised him to perform karma,
Right.
but sitting in yoga. That
Correct.
means his ultimate karma yoga action concretizes as whatever he was doing on the battlefield. And
Correct.
that is one manifestation of your karma, your
Correct.
yoga,
Yeah.
and so forth. So he goes on to say, Siddhi Asiddhya Samo Bhutva. You should look at Siddhi and Asiddhi, success and failure
In the
as
same
equal.
way. Correct.
Suddhya Siddhyo Samo Bhutva Samatvam Yoga Uchate. This is all called Samatvam. So
Correct.
he says you shoot your arrow in Samatvam. What does it mean? You shoot your arrow, all right. You're killing somebody with your arrow, all right. Yeah. You're taking negatives and beatings, all right. But you're doing it with the
Equanimity.
equanimity of Siddhi and Asiddhi.
Correct.
And that is your Yoga Uchate.
Correct.
Yeah. Any comments, Anku?
No, perfect. Perfect. I think yeah, there's nothing to add. Perfect. Yeah.
Good, good. Yeah, thank you. So the next shloka is even more landmark kind of a shloka.
Right.
This particular shloka from Bhagavad Gita
The one that
is,
most people know, if they know nothing else, they have at
yeah,
least heard this. Correct.
right. They put it up in offices and so forth. All government offices used to have that. Now I don't know whether they are
Right.
there, but they'll come back again.
Correct.
The government offices will come back, karmanyavadi karaste. And many people wouldn't know the meaning of the entire shloka, but
Right.
then they by the first quarter of it,
Right.
and karmanyavadi karaste. You'll say,
Right.
look, you just have to do your job and get lost,
Correct.
So that will say if that is the case, I will be, lackadaisical in my action and so forth.
Correct.
So they sort of twist the whole thing.
Correct.
And that you have to balance the first quarter of the shloka with the remaining three quarters. So let us
Correct.
look at that.
Correct.
Karman eva adhikaraste. Karmani eva adhikaraha. Adhikar means your control, your
Correct.
hold
Right.
is in karma. Karmani eva adhikaraste. Ma phaleshu kadachana. Never on the fruits of your action.
Correct.
Hmm. Having said that, Krishna goes on to explain further. Ma karma phala heturbu. So in spite of all that, you are doing some karma, all right.
Correct.
But then it should be detached from the outcome of your karma.
Correct.
Hmm?
Correct.
Recapitulating, karmanyeva adhikaraha te ma
Correct.
phaleshu kadachana.
Correct.
Ma karma phala heturbu. You don't worry about, like Pete Sampras hitting the tennis ball or Sachin Tendulkar running across the crease or something. That is karma phala. That should not be your driving force of karma. And most importantly, ma te sangha astu akarmani. Now, you'll say, with all this nonsense, why should I do karma?
Right.
If karma is so useless, then why should I do karma?
Right.
But Krishna says, akarmani sangha na astu.
Right.
You cannot get wedded to your meaningless action or not doing anything at all. So this is the most complicated part of the shloka, and
Right.
most people are confused. They think there is nonsense, but it is not.
Right.
So action is not going to justify itself simply because at the end of it all, your action will be governed by karma yoga. So
Right.
inaction has to be there. So inaction is an integral part of your action. It is in fact the two sides of the same coin. So akarmani na action na nakosa, like that, Excuse me. So, to recapitulate, one should understand the full shloka and not just go by superficial
1/4 of it. Correct.
details and stuff. Karmani eva adhikaraha te
Is the
ma
most,
phale
yeah. Correct.
kadachana
Correct.
ma karma phala hetuhu.
Correct.
Karma phala hetuhu means karma phala is not your hetu or reason for action.
Correct.
At the same time, ma te sangha astu akarmani. Now, this is a little bit of a tongue twisting philosophy, but it is a ultimate in Karma Yoga philosophy.
Correct.
And no wonder all the government officers and other people quote it left, right, and center.
Right.
And it works.
Right.
And it has stood the
Test
any
of time. Correct.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Yeah,
Yeah.
karma. So, in other words, karma has no menu. Yeah, akar, it has no vikar.
Right.
Nirvikar, it has no guna. Karma has no menu, and you get served by your karma for what you deserve, and that karma was created by you only. So
Right.
you cannot blame somebody for your karma phala.
Right.
Don't
Correct.
blame others. Yeah, take it upon yourself.
Correct.
So ultimately we say, no, even today we say if something goes wrong, arey karma hai, karma.
Right.
But that is being said very superficially and very sarcastically at times.
Right.
But then karma is created by you, executed by you, and consummated by you. So that is karma yoga. And everything ultimately centers around you and comes back to you.
Right.
So that is karma yoga. Next slide, please.
So one important thing I thought I'd mention here, I guess this is a slightly different part of karma from all the preceding slides.
Right.
Which is till now we were talking about, doing action without attachment to the outcome.
Right.
Now we are talking about the consequences of previous karmas influencing
Right.
the karma that you are going to do or have to do. And
Right.
the way I see this or connect the dots with this to ourselves is this brings back the locus of control to yourself, which is that control being not the adhikara in the way we just discussed, not about the control of outcomes, control of actions. You do not use blame or despair or anything of that sort to absolve yourself of your duty or your actions. You understand that your actions have been created by previous actions and you have to continue to do it. The best way to do it is to detach, right? So I see this as a slightly different link in that you're saying, you have to take responsibility for everything. You have to take responsibility for your actions and keep acting. Yeah.
Wait, there is a catch.
Not take responsibility for your actions is also correct. Yeah.
You take responsibility for inaction also.
Yeah.
So inaction.
No, actually, in fact, yeah, I stand corrected because actually what Krishna is saying in another shloka is effectively that don't take responsibility for the actions. Whoever has to die has already died. You are only the instrument. So not responsibility for your actions so much as you have to be ready to accept that you have to act. And that is your role. If your role is anything, it is to keep acting. Not so much as take responsibility for the goodness or badness of the actions. Yeah, sorry.
Correct. Correct.
I stand corrected.
Good. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Yeah, we have come to samsara.
Yeah. Samsara. Yeah. Now, all this samsara, we see one chakra there, samsara chakra. It is again a traditionally Hindu way of looking at philosophy.
Correct.
Anything that goes up comes down. And this chakra concept is not there in other religions, to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
Chakra concept is only in Hinduism.
Right.
And it is samsara. Today something is up, it's going to be down tomorrow. So
Correct.
today you will be up and tomorrow you will be down. Today
Correct.
somebody else is up and somebody else will be down and so forth.
Correct.
Now every little thing without exception at all
Right.
has to go samsara chakra.
Correct.
Then you'll say, oh my God, if I am stuck with samsara chakra, what good am I? What am I doing? It's useless,
Right.
So samsara is taken as useless, but it is not the case. Samsara chakra is essential for the betterment or equalization of the logic of the universe.
Right.
If the universe didn't have samsara, for example, before Galileo and others discovered that the planet is round and not, flat. If astrologists and astronomers say the universe is round, then that fits in your samsara chakra part of it. And the chakra is created by you, depending upon your own action. Now, this samsara chakra is created by karma and akarma. It's going round and round and round. Then there is no escape. Now, imagine yourself tied to a sort of a wheel. And samsara chakra, you are caught. And you don't know how to get out of it because it's circular. The more you try to go up, the more you try to you come down and so forth. Again, a circular logic. But I think samsara chakra is an extremely elegant and very profound philosophical concept. And ultimately, then what do? You remain stuck in samsara all the time? The answer is no. That is where the Hinduism or indigenous philosophy has a way out. What does it say? It says, samsara is your Bhavasagar. It is like an ocean.
Correct.
And this agara is something, and all saints and others have sort of depicted it as an ocean. But it can be an ocean, it can be a wheel, but it is endless. Bhavasagar, it is a huge ocean, and it is endless. Now, how do you get out? That is where your God comes in. Your God, your own God, whether he is Krishna, Rama, or Kodanda, or whatever, if you take the help of your own God, if you take the help of your own Bhakti Yoga and Bhakti Marga, you can swim across Bhavasagara. Now, swimming across, mind you, here the swimming across is exemplified by Mirabai and all other saints and so forth. You have to get into the ocean and you have to swim across it. And to swim across it, you need help. And what is that help? You have a boat and a boatman. And the boatman will help you to swim across or sail across. You call it swimming or sailing. You are crossing the ocean. And the Bhavasagara concept of crossing the ocean is very much there. Even today, when people are perplexed and confused, they say, oh God, how will I cross this ocean? They see an obstacle and they say, okay, let me cross the ocean. And in the Advaitic sense, you don't have to cross the ocean at all. You're an integral part of the ocean anyway. But you cannot argue like that. You have to offer a tangible, practical outlet to the devotee. So Bhavasagara concept is basically of Bhakti Marga. So, and
that effectively, this is what you are part of. You have to traverse it with faith in a larger force and confidence in just the actions as per wherever you are. And the best way to do it and not get distracted by things in the Bhavasagar is to say, leave the outcomes of my actions, keep doing the actions, and that will actually take you through to where you need to go. Yeah.
Right. Good.
I think we have about 10 minutes, Doctor. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now people say, Venkatesh will say, everybody will say, show us some way. You're learning arithmetic, they'll say, show us some way of doing arithmetic. So your take home, most of the times, in fact, almost all of the time, the take home has to be in concrete terms. You can discuss abstract things, but then at the end of the lecture or at the end of the interaction, people will say, show me something concrete. Now it is easy to show something concrete with an abstract concept. But then you have to give some operable situation or operable manner of doing things, and for which the concept of namasmaran comes.
Right.
Now, namasmaran is chanting the name of the Lord.
Right.
Now you'll see, will it help in
Karma
crossing the
yoga.
ocean?
Yeah. How would
Yeah.
it help in doing karma? Correct.
Yeah, you are doing your namasmaran and then your karma is going for a toss and so forth.
Right.
Then the saint say, no, it is not the case. Namasmaran is the oar with which you row the boat,
Right.
metaphorically speaking.
Right.
And Namasmaran, compare it with somebody whistling in the dark, he doesn't know whether it is northeast or west or south,
Right.
and he is whistling in the dark because he is scared. He is scared
Right.
of what is lying ahead and he doesn't know what is lying ahead.
Correct.
So he starts saying something.
Right.
And that saying something is you're whistling in the dark.
Correct.
But that metamorphoses into Namasmaran. You say if you are simply just whistling in the dark, like
Right.
Valmiki,
Right.
the sage who wrote Ramayana, you know,
Right.
he was asked to say Rama and he didn't know how to say it. So the saint said, do say Mara. Don't
Right.
say Rama, say Mara. It is easier. And
Correct.
it was easier on his tongue. So he started saying Mara, Mara, Mara. And then for eternity he was chanting Mara. And that led to Rama and then led to the liberation.
Right.
No, this is all mythology.
Right.
But there is a truth in what you are saying. You get hold of a name. Even this Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, as he was doing this transcendental meditation,
Right.
he went to California, he went to Los Angeles, you are down back to normal Namasmaran.
Right.
He wouldn't say it openly because the secret will be out. So
Yeah.
if there is a
Doctor,
secret.
sorry, I have to just make you aware of the overall time.
Ah, okay, I think we are just about through.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
Namasmaran.
My
Next
apologies.
slide. Next slide. No, 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 it's fine. So ultimately, at the end of it all, what do you do? Karma yoga, karma is your puja, karma is your worship, work is your worship. Keep doing. There are anecdotes in Mahabharata which talk about work is worship, and
Right.
we'll take it another time. But essentially, it is coming down to your karma yoga and nishkama karma and so on. So
Right.
if you get the quintessence of this is in one word or even one sentence, it is more than enough. Because that once you know how to proceed, you start practicing. You start chanting, you start doing karma, and you can do chanting when you are doing karma. You can do it together simultaneously, and so forth and so forth.
Right.
So there is one way out. So Venkatesh, here it is yours.
Yes, no, perfect. So I think the last two sort of square off what you had talked about earlier. So I said square rather than circle, but to our, like you said, one of the big benefits or characteristics of Hindu philosophy is that we don't try to make things linear. We understand that things are interconnected in balance, and that sort of means sometimes circular logic. So
Right,
essentially, without faith in a larger force or power, which to which we can sort of leave the outcomes of action, leave the context of the action, we cannot do actions without being attached to desires and outcomes. And
right,
that's how the Bhakti Yoga is connected to Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga being do
right,
work without attachment, Bhakti Yoga being think of a larger force and submit to it. Both of them
right,
are intertwined, and a practical way to remind ourselves of that submission or surrender to a larger force was namasmaran, as you just talked about, as a way of
right,
anchoring whatever you do in a bhakti to a larger force. A more actionable way, maybe even of saying that, is that work itself is the worship. That
right,
you are actually, by just the act of working in a mode of surrender, you have worshipped the Almighty. And that's the
right,
best way to actually get past the Bhavasagar, as you talked about, which is, this world filled with distractions and obstacles. If you have a faith in your boatman and you know to oar with your actions and surrender to the larger forces, that's all you need to do. Just get to work. Don't worry about anything beyond that. Leave the actions to a larger force and keep doing. Is, I guess, the message we have sort of tried to bring across today. Is that fair, Doctor?
right. Yeah, absolutely. Well summarized and well communicated. So we'll look forward to the next session.
Yes, yes, Doctor. Thank you. I'm so sorry that I had to slightly
No,
hurry
no,
you in
no,
the end because
no,
I thought
no.
we were going past our
Here,
normal.
here I have no way of checking the time,
Yeah.
and the keeping is yours. So
Yeah.
it's working fine.
Awesome, Doctor. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Thank you.